Hey, podcast listeners. This episode was recorded before the tragic death of George Floyd that has sparked riots and protests across the United States. Before we jump into our topic, we want to emphasize that we stand in solidarity in the fight against racism, police brutality, and an unjust government. Please ensure that you are registered to vote and are active in all local government affairs. Without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. Hey, podcast listeners. My name is Alison.
And I'm Chelsea. Welcome to our weekly episode of the Graduate Podcast,
A podcast that inspires young adults to embrace and flourish through the many facets of life.
We look forward to sharing our craziest stories since moving to opposite ends of the country. We got some juicy relationship details here, some professional tips there, and so much more lined up for you.
Right. We want to remind you in the beauty of your transformation as you graduate through life.
With that being said, let's jump right into it.
The Graduate Podcast starts now.
Hey everyone, Chelsea and Alison here.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Graduate Podcast. We are so excited that you are here and hope that you have enjoyed how we are starting off our first ever season of the Graduate Podcast. So welcome, and welcome.
But Alison, let's jump right into the meat and the potatoes. How many times have you been asked in your relationship, when are you going to get married, and when the heck is baby coming?
You know, I have been asked that so many times. So was underlined and in bold so many times. So it's actually kind of funny because where my boyfriend is from, he is from Miami, but apparently it's like taboo to be together for more than 6 months and not have a baby or not be engaged. So I have been getting asked about marriage and babies, but more so babies over marriage, which is kind of trifling, but whatever. I've been getting asked about babies since Zay and I have been together for 6 months.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so, but how long have you and Zay been together now?
4.5 years with no baby.
With no
baby.
Dang. Did you know that when you were gonna get with Zay that like he was gonna be the one like that you'd be in such a mature relationship with now?
Oh my goodness, no. I had no idea. Zay was not, I didn't think he was serious about me. Honestly, I did not think he was honest about me. I didn't think that he truly liked me. I thought he was just saying what he needed to say to get in my drawers. And it worked. But yeah, no, I had no idea. I've always wanted a boyfriend though, and I've always loved the idea of having somebody to love up on and spoil and get it in return. But I had no idea, but I'm very, very glad that it did, and I'm glad that it worked out, and I'm glad that we're very strong and very still in love to this point.
Oh, so sweet.
Thank you.
Well, I will have you know that is completely the opposite from my reality and what I'm experiencing, because zero times is how many times I've been asked, when am I going to get married and when I'm having a baby. Especially with my family. I think that, I don't know, I hate saying Asian culture, but it's my reality, and you know, sometimes I do think that we're a bit more conservative in that way. And maybe it's for daughters too. I'm like the first daughter. There's always something to say about that too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm not hearing that. I think my family wants me to become more established and stable with things that I own. For example, like property, making sure that like a career and a stable income is established. And it's, I don't know. I'm not hearing babies or marriage on my side.
Must be nice, because I'm telling you, it's getting annoying. So, I mean, when we really dive into the meat and potatoes, as you said, about looking at what's really required in my relationship, I feel like the reason why, even though I do aspire towards marriage and I do aspire towards motherhood, I think I try to focus more so on what I'm currently dealing with and what I currently have, which is my relationship with my sweet Alize. And I think the foundation for our relationship, regardless of, you know, what outsiders are wanting from us, I think we've been really focused on, like, being able to nurture one another, respect, understand, and communicate with one another. We're pretty big on loyalty, and even though I want that marriage, like, it's so important for me that, you know, similar to what your goal is, I really want to lay that foundation. I really want to have myself. And I just don't want to dive too much more into that.
No, I hear you definitely, because I think that there's a lot of people in our generation that are so quick to dive into it. Like, they love the idea of having a house, love the idea of having a family. They want the cars, they want the picture perfect everything. And they're just sort of ready to just say yes and just sign me up. And
right.
I guess that's what the topic of the discussion is today.
Right. Really. Right. So let me ask you another question. So have you, well, I'm sure you have actually, but how many times have people told you, like, oh, you and Garrett are my favorite couple. Oh, you know, where did you find him, or how did you get him, or, you know, what's the prayer? Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, I get that. And it's weird responding to that, because I think that when people come with that energy of, oh, how did you meet Garrett? Like, how did you get him? And it's sort of like they want me to tell them this, like, nice, fancy love story or something. I'm like, you know, and it wasn't that way at all. No, like, Garrett and I, we were really good friends at first. We were good friends for a couple of years. And it's one of those friendship stories that it sort of, we got to know each other a little bit more. We found out that, hey, you know, we're a lot more, like, in common than we are different. And then we just started vibing with each other.
And then you were
really
like, you're
honest to the same
sexy.
music.
And then he said, you're sexy too. And then,
and then bada boom, bada bing. No.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what do you require in your relationship?
You know, yeah, I think that what I'm looking for in my relationship is positive and well intentions first and foremost. Definitely, I'm big on respect, huge on communication, because if we're not communicating, we have friction.
Right.
And let's see, I think also just adaptability, because as I've mentioned in, like, the last episode or previous episodes, we're always going to be changing in our lives. We're always going through these different stages, and so I need someone who can stick with me through all of my stages, through all of the growth. And so I just want someone who's adaptable, and of course some patience comes with that too.
Absolutely, right. And so, you know, we've already talked about it several times, but how you and I both have many ventures that we have going on. This podcast is not the only thing that we are doing to create a livelihood and build our future. So can you speak a little bit more from the entrepreneur perspective of yourself and touch on how it works out being in a relationship and also doing so many different business ventures and really trying to establish something that you can hopefully one day pass down to your children?
Yeah. When you were just saying everything right now, I thought about how, you know, when you're growing up, everyone sort of tells you, don't date until you're done with college or until you work. And I kind of get that now, because literally, if you are dedicating so much time to your work, there is no room for a relationship.
Right.
However, I will have you know that it is possible, and like most things, there comes a balance or sacrifice depending on how you look at it. But when I met Garrett, he met me when I was already well into the entrepreneurship side of me. I was getting into this startup I helped co-found. It was called Mail Gap. I was doing it when I was 18 years old, so super young, a lot of energy. And he knew from the get-go how tight I like to maintain my schedule and how laser focused that I can be with the work that I do. And so with that, I love to keep a tight schedule. So by the end of the day, my brain is like scrambled eggs. Like, it's like an omelet. I don't really know. And so, but I still try to push out, some notes. And Garrett really comes in with my business when he helps me organize my thoughts. And he's sort of like my piece in that way because
Right.
By the end of the day, my brain is just like, I swear, it's like malfunctioning. And so he just helps me sort my thoughts.
That's dope. I feel like that's so beautiful because all of the times that you two do come together is probably so much more meaningful and maybe relaxing, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say so because I would say so because Garrett, he always likes to keep himself busy too. And he's, going into grad school now. He is really diving into strength and conditioning and being a strength coach. And so at the end of our days, when we do come together, we like to keep things light, but then we also talk about everything we did throughout the day, which is things that we enjoy. And so it's usually a positive and nice conversation to have with someone you love, of course.
Ugh, I love that. Oh my goodness.
And so just kind of coming together at the end of the day is always really, really nice. As I've mentioned previously, and we keep mentioning about this whole growing and developing and what that means to us and how the heck are we supposed to grow and also grow with a partner and establish that relationship. And, we have all of these end goals that we want and all of these paths we can take to get there. So I guess what I'm really trying to ask here is how do we navigate the fact that we're growing as individuals while at the same time growing within our relationships daily?
Right. So I'll go ahead and answer that. I think for me, balance is key. Chelsea talked about it just a second ago. Balance versus sacrifice, or whichever you want to label it as. And so for me, I feel like balance is key. I want to be with my significant other just as much as I want to work on my podcast, and just as much as I want to be in school, and just as much as I want to do everything else that I'm doing. And so I think balance for me is essential for really maintaining both myself and my relationship. I think another important aspect is understanding your love language. So your love language is pretty much the way that you prefer to be loved. And then there's also your love language for which you deliver love. And so those 5 love languages are quality time, physical touch, receiving gifts, words of affirmation, and acts of service. I think for me, 100%, my number one is quality time. Like, I gotta have time with my boo. I need some, of course, some touching, some kisses. Zay hates kissing me though. I don't know why. Oh. He's not a kisser. It pisses me off.
No way.
Unfortunately.
What do you think his love language is?
I think for Alize, his love language is acts of service and then quality time. I think he likes kind of seeing the whole picture come together. Like, Zay is very adamant on, if anyone is going to be a stay-at-home parent in our relationship, it's definitely me. He definitely knows that I'm going to be, like, holding it down because that's what I'm good at. And so, it's those acts of service that for what a woman or a wife, quote-unquote, should be, that he sees in me. So, yeah. What about you, with you and Garrett?
Yeah, I think that, or I know, because we actually, I know that this is a book, but we took, like, the little quiz thing. And so, opposite, my love language is acts of service, and his is quality time. And I think it's basically the same thing. Like, mine stems from wanting to see, like, the effort of, putting in some work into, like, our home and seeing some things, like cleaning up or, just making a meal or something. And then for him, quality time, like, he just likes the personal attention. He likes just being in a relaxed state. But I'm always like, go, go, go.
Right. That's such an interesting blend.
It definitely is. We're making it work somehow.
Right. I think something else that's also really important with growing together and independently is acknowledging your triggers. Like, if you understand what makes you upset, what pisses you off, if your significant other understands and acknowledges those areas, I feel like that also really helps a relationship, because that way they can know how to nurture you and how to feed into you. Like, for example, if I know, or if Alize knows that I'm coming home from a long day of work and there's dishes in the sink and that would piss me off, there's a likelihood that he's going to do those dishes because he does not want, something so small to trigger me. Or another thing is when I have to repeat myself. I hate having to repeat myself. And that automatically will change my mood if I feel like I'm being ignored or if I feel like I'm not being prioritized. That's just me. That's just me.
That's true. Yeah, and a lot of people don't really think that, like, their triggers is something a lot of people just take lightly, and they don't try to adjust it or acknowledge it or make it better,
Right. It's not something to be avoided at all.
Right. Absolutely. What about when people are, as we mentioned, so we're growing as individuals, we're growing within our relationship, but sometimes these individuals, they seek to be in a relationship that complements them, or is my quote-unquote better half. And there's like this whole notion where this partner is maybe filling a void for you or filling in your weaknesses. What do you think about all that?
My better half, I don't believe in that. I really don't. I really do not believe in that. I believe that I'm an individual and I'm whole. I believe that my partner is an individual and he's whole. And I feel like he and I together, we definitely complement one another, but we're not filling a void. And, the reality of it is, if something were to happen between him and I won't be empty without him. Of course, I would love to be with him forever and ever, but I'm not empty without him. And there's no qualities in him that necessarily complete me. But I think the fact that he and I are both comfortable in ourselves and we're complete individuals, I feel like that leads to a very happier relationship. Like, we're able to express ourselves and understand that no matter what, we are our own person. And so that's where everything stems from. Like, nothing ever gets taken personally because we're our own people and we think differently, we were raised differently, all that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, like, we're now in 2020 and I feel like the whole world is dominated by social media. I feel like everyone is on dating apps. I feel like everybody is looking for their soulmate, and luckily, hopefully you and I found that person who is going to be our soulmate, or going to be our life partner rather. And so I feel like it's also kind of interesting to dive into what is dating culture even like nowadays.
Yeah. In 2020, in the middle of a dang pandemic. Just me sprinkling that everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, dating in this era is very interesting. I think, number one, let's acknowledge the closed-mindedness and cancel culture, quote unquote. So I feel like a lot of people are looking, when they say that they're looking for a boyfriend, or when they're looking for a partner or a girlfriend or whomever, I feel like a lot of people go in with an expectation like, I want somebody who's perfect. I want somebody who has these qualities qualities about themselves, and this is what I want, and he needs to make 6 figures, and he needs to look like this, and he needs to talk like this, and he needs to be this height. Because I feel like that's another popular one, like, good morning to men who are 5'10" and over. Like, girl, that is so shallow. That I feel like the dating culture is very shallow. Like, people are looking for perfection, and they don't even embody perfection themselves. But they're not ready for that convo. They're not ready for that one.
No, I mean, everything that you touched on is very true and very real. Like, I feel like people, they'll try and they will just have their list of things and they won't make any exceptions. And the people who are making those lists, like, they don't think that they have anything to just change about themselves either. And, like,
Right.
you're gonna both walk into a relationship and everything's gonna be great. But newsflash, no, there's constantly friction between all types of individuals, because at the end of the day, you guys are your own individual selves.
You know what also makes me a little agitated? I hate when people comment on, like, relationship drama. Like, for example, I'll talk about Cardi B and Offset just because everyone pretty much knows a little bit about them and who they are. So basically, Offset in the past has cheated on Cardi B. That is his wife. That is not his girlfriend. That is not his baby mama. That is his wife and a mother to one of his daughters. So I think something that really bothers me is, like, if anything happens with Offset, people are so quick to be like, oh, Cardi, you're a dumb, whatever. You're stupid. You are this, you're that. And I think I'm not ever going to accept cheating. Cheating is never okay. But I feel like people are so quick to be like, oh, well, if my man messes up one time, then we're done. And that goes along with the idea of cancel culture. People are so quick to, oh, he's boring, he's canceled. Oh, he don't have money, he's canceled. He don't have a car, he's canceled. But at the same time, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Like, they don't, people don't leave room for growth, and they're expecting perfection already, or they feel like any relationship is perfect. Like, no, Cardi was about to divorce that man, but at the end of the day, that's also her husband, and so you got to be willing to work through certain things regardless.
You're exactly right. Like, why go into a relationship and set that standard where there's no room to budge, or there's no room for growth, or no room to compromise? Like, I just feel like you're starting off on the wrong foot. And maybe that says something about yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And you got to really take your time
Right.
healing from it too. Because I think that when people get hurt so quick, they're quick to bounce back, and they're quick to heal, or they want to act like they're healed from it.
But then still throw all type of subliminals on social media. Oh, fuck him and fuck her. Like, no.
Yeah.
So let me jump into a little bit of territory that might piss a couple more people off. So,
since we're already in the field,
off. You know, the Graduate Podcast is going to get very candid, y'all. So, Chelsea said it in the intro. Yeah. You can expect a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So, let me give it to you raw. Stop taking it so lightly who you have babies with. Let me say it again. Stop taking it so lightly who you have babies with. It is 2020. And why are y'all still having sex with men who are not stable? Men who are not there for you emotionally? Men who can provide for that baby? Men who you see yourself with long term? Men who you can see yourselves communicating with for at least 18 years? Why are some people taking it so lightly who they have babies with? What's the hype?
I really don't know. And I think that it comes to fulfilling this list, or maybe it's a little bit of instant gratification. But I just don't think that people have this shopping list of who they're going to have babies with. Like, having a baby is like choosing a shirt in the store. It's not like that. It's a whole human being. Right.
Like, and if worst case scenario happens, you got to deal with this person forever because you have a child with them. So that's another thing. Like, date on, have sex, do what makes you happy, but also be careful, protect yourself, because I know people who have ended up in situations that they're not too proud of, that they haven't even posted about, because you know, they made a rash decision, a quick decision, got a quick nut. Like, couldn't be me.
Yeah, and I think that also, I find that people, especially with our younger folks, and who are not in stable relationships need to stop using pregnancy as a crutch to save
Or
the
a threat.
relationship. I'm going to say it just one last time. Don't use pregnancy as a crutch to save your
Yep.
relationship. It's, it's a whole human being. It's more so a liability
Right.
than anything else.
No, that is for sure. Babies are not cheap. Babies do take away your sleep. Like, your whole life changes once you have one. And so honestly, to bring the conversation back to what we started with, like, I'm taking my time before I have a baby. I won't lie to y'all. I have 6 more years left of school before I am officially a dentist. I have hopefully like 2 more years before I'm engaged, if Alize's listening. Like, I have a lot of time before I have my first baby. And so I think for me, what I'm really using this period in my life to do is to enjoy him, to continue growing with him. I know we've been in the game for a little minute, but I think it's really important that I continue getting to know him and getting to build a foundation so that when I do come to the point where I am ready to get married and I come to the point where I am ready to become a mother, that I can enjoy those moments and not look back and be like, damn, when I was 23, I wish I would have done blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I'm already knocking it all off the list. I'm traveling. I'm meeting friends. I'm going out when I feel like it. Coming in the house when I feel like it. I think that's one of the most important messages that I want to leave y'all with is, like, move at your own pace and stop rushing things. Stop being naive. Stop being foolish. Stop being tricked by what sounds good, because everything that glitters is not gold.
That's truth. Man, I want to talk about, it's the same thing with you. I want to take my time with growth, and I want to take my time with getting to know Garrett. I will have babies when I'm ready. Hopefully that's when we get married. Hopefully that's when we have a new home. As I've mentioned, adaptability is a big thing for me in my life and in my reality. I know I'm going to be continuing to grow. Chelsea next week might not be Chelsea now, and it's certainly not going to be her in the next year. And so I just want to ensure that those foundations and those systems work for me and my partner before we introduce a family or anybody else into
Definitely,
the equation.
before you consider moving up or making any drastic life changes, listen to this episode and remind yourself, what do you really want? Take time to ask yourself questions and really get to know yourself, because getting married, having a boyfriend, having children, like, that will all change your life and that will shape you a lot.
And with that, thank you again so much for tuning in to another episode. Please follow us on all of our social medias. We're on Instagram. What's our Instagram, Allison?
At The Graduate Podcast.
Oh yeah, we're on Twitter too, right?
At TGP Starts Now.
And we have a Facebook group too.
Look us up at The Graduate Podcast, and we have a girl gang group in there. So thank you again. Continue to shout us out, share us with your friends, and until next time,
Bye.
bye.